Dick Dastardly. Apparently he's been stealing Netflix by using his mother's account.
That is not fair for the rest of us who have to pay for Netflix.
You have to pay for Netflix?
Well, it's been 12 weeks, but as Rose Calvert might say, it feels like 84 years. Although actually, to her, it had been 84 years, so she wins.
Yeah,
I suppose.
she wins.
Not like it's a competition or anything, you know, but hey-ho. This is episode 23. It's sort of our podcast update, and we're going to be talking about today what life has been like for us as cinephiles within lockdown, what we've been watching, what the cinema industry looks like at the moment, and I guess crucially what's coming up on our schedule for the next couple of months. Whew. I feel like we can finally breathe in this episode, Mary. I think it's been quite intense.
Yeah, we've had a lot of episodes with large amounts of homework required. I think it's fair to say.
Self-imposed.
Self-imposed, yes, but homework nonetheless. It was easier to do during lockdown. You're kind of still on lockdown in a way because you've been working the whole way through.
I've worked the whole time.
But
yeah.
you're at home. Yes.
You've had a lovely long holiday. In fact, at one point you said, it feels like I've had 60 bank holidays. I was like, oh, great.
Yes, I did say that. I was off for 10 weeks and went back 2 weeks ago. It's going to be interesting now to see how the episodes go with all of the work I have to do now.
All of the work. We've committed to these episodes now. It's going to be published. It's going to be out there today.
We have.
So, yeah, I suppose first of all, let's have a look at what the current position is then. You know, what does cinema look like at a glance and how is it changed?
It doesn't. It doesn't look much like anything.
No. One thing I thought was hilarious right at the beginning was when Jared Leto came out of this 12-day meditation retreat.
Oh, yeah. I didn't have a clue what was going on.
He said he came back to a very different world, one that's been changed forever. And I guess that, I mean, I don't know whether forever, but it's certainly very different.
Yeah, I think it's significantly changed. I don't think we'll ever go back to exactly the way it was before.
I don't know.
I don't think it's possible to do it now that things have had to be done differently. I think businesses know that things can be done differently because they've had to adapt to it. So I think a lot of places won't go back to the way that they did things before.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's cinema related. They've literally had to just shut down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something that's become quite big over that time is drive-in cinemas.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have really taken a huge leap because that is the only way that people can actually get out and see a movie at the moment because all cinemas are closed.
I was thinking about this. They were announcing that in the UK, drive-in cinemas can open from the 15th of June, which for us is tomorrow.
I was like,
but then
do we have
I don't know any.
I don't know any drive-in cinemas.
Whereas in the US, where it is a bit more common, I read in Empire magazine that in one weekend in April, a single drive-in theatre in Florida was the source of the entire US domestic box office.
Yes, I read that. Yeah.
Did you see it? And it was only $1,710 in receipts.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. Maybe we'll see a few more crop up. But if I'm honest, I don't know how I'd feel about watching a film through my car. I've never done it.
I'd really like to try it.
I'd try it.
I'd really like to try it. I think it would be really interesting. And then the screen's massive as well. It's much, much bigger than a cinema screen.
Yeah. I don't know whether I'd want to go and watch a new big blockbuster film. I can replicate the cinema environment at home better than I could, I think, in a car park somewhere.
On a very small screen. On a very, very small screen.
Yeah, but if you put it right in front of your face like I do, and you've got your earphones in, it's pretty loud and close.
I think that there have been a lot of different ideas about what cinema's going to have to do to be in any way successful and be making what they need to make, basically. The on-demand and streaming as being something that companies who would not talk about that have had to talk about. If they wanted to have releases and keep people thinking and talking about their films, they have had to think about streaming.
Yeah.
Things have appeared on Amazon and Netflix and things like that were not meant to be there. The Trolls World Tour film is probably the most successful attempt at this, I think. They literally said, right, okay, we're going to go for this. We're going to stream it. We're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked.
Every child in the world was off school,
Yeah.
pretty much.
So
it felt like it.
They really went down the line with that idea.
So many different films followed it after that, and some that you wouldn't expect.
I think it was more a reluctant move, whereas
Yeah.
I think with the Trolls film, they really fully backed it.
Some people have put their films out on demand, I think, where they've realised that they probably wouldn't have been as successful in the cinema. And they've kind of gone, well, you know what? This is our next best thing. Things like The Hunt came out, and even Greyhound now has been announced for Apple TV+.
Yeah.
Greyhound especially, that looked like a big cinema-style film.
Yeah, that was going to be a cinema release, no doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that some of the bigger films have actually also taken that turn. The other thing they've done with obviously harnessing what the internet can do is that they've used social media very differently, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Like Netflix are doing watch-along parties. They've
Yeah.
enabled that function now, and Twitter are doing, streaming Q&As or doing commentary, and
Yeah.
even celebrities themselves, like Seth Rogen, watched Cats, and tweeted along to that. So it's just added this whole other interactive element for everyone.
I think it's really good. I'd like to see that
It's good.
continue. I would like that kind of interactive experience and just that extra added thing. I think that's really good.
It sort of showed that we were all in the same boat, didn't it?
Yeah, I'd like to see it hang around. I think also one of the reasons a lot of the changes have come into place is because they didn't realise it was going to go on this long. I don't think people expected to have cinemas closed for this long, and there is no talk of them opening yet.
No.
So that kind of goes into what's going to happen next. So film festivals have all started putting out their news, haven't they? Whether they're going to be going the normal route, you could say, or the old normal.
Yeah, well, I tried to Google some of these to find out what each one was doing, and it's not clear cut at all. I've really struggled. I looked up Cannes Film Festival because I know they'd announced all of the films that were in their official selection.
Yeah.
I knew that it had been postponed from May because that's when it was meant to be.
Yeah, I think they put it back with the hope that it was all going to be blown over by then.
But they teamed up with YouTube, I think, and this went right over my radar. I didn't see this at all, but to stream films on YouTube along with Toronto.
I didn't know about that.
It looks like it closed on the 7th of June, but again, I couldn't tell whether the articles were up to date or not. So at the moment, I don't know about that one. And I know that Venice Film Festival is looking at September, but providing people can and want to travel to Italy. It's like, again, I think there's going to have to be some kind of digital element to them somehow, even if not for everybody.
I think so. I just don't think you're going to be able to get people together.
Yeah.
To experience them the way they did before. I just don't think it's possible. And again, the Oscars as well, even though they aren't till next year.
Yeah.
They've still done a lot to think about how to put it forward, how to put it on. They've widened their window, haven't they?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
People are having to think really far in advance. They've also literally just announced that they're going to be having officially 10 Best Pictures. Now, this goes hand in hand with other things that are going on at the moment.
Yeah.
I think it was the right move and should have been made immediately anyway.
Yeah. And it always should have been an even number.
Yeah. Just not like, we'll decide on the year how many we've got.
Yeah.
8, 9, whatever. So I think that's good. And obviously the whole idea of diversity is important. And they should always be striving to progress forward with that.
Yeah.
I don't know if there would have been such significant effects if people weren't still in lockdown. That might be fairly controversial to say, but
I understand what you mean. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of time to put into it that people didn't have before.
Yeah, sort of accelerating the process, which up until now had been very gradual. I think people like the Academy made small changes every year, or
they did.
social changes that have been happening. But something like this, sort of really pushed it to sort of go, right, now's the time. Use this time.
Well, I'm looking here at what the potential lasting effects of this virus will be on cinema, and obviously we've all got used to sitting and watching Netflix and but I think cinema is missed. Yeah,
absolutely.
And obviously movie theatres have been hugely impacted by this. There will be certain independent cinemas that probably won't reopen.
Yeah, I imagine.
Because it's been too long. It's had too big an economic effect on them.
Yeah.
There are some people saying that obviously the chains View and Odeon and Cineworld and Showcase, things like that, will probably have a chance of opening next month.
Well, yeah.
Cineworld plans to reopen all the cinemas in July. Now, obviously, this is all very, very up in the air.
But this is the thing, isn't it? Some films have clung on to their original release dates. I think there's only 2 big ones that are clinging on to July, and that's Mulan, which, believe it or not, is as early as the 24th, and Tenet, which has just been pushed back 2 weeks to the 31st.
Well, Tenet was always in July anyway, wasn't it? It's moved it back a little bit, but Mulan was in March, wasn't it? So I'm quite surprised they even moved it to July. I would have moved it a lot later, personally, if they'd already moved it.
It's that battle to be the first big film of the year, isn't it? The first summer blockbuster film.
It is. This changes everything. This is unprecedented.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, they're saying, how will it work? What will it be like? Like, obviously, social distancing measures are going to severely affect what they're able to do.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, how many seats apart are you going to have to sit? Yeah. You know, they're going to have to think about things like that.
Can you even have someone sat right in front of you, never mind next to you?
Yeah, well, exactly. You know. Face masks, are they going to be... I mean, anybody on public transport has to wear masks, and they're being, you know, recommended to people.
Yeah.
Are you going to have to sit with a mask on for 2 hours, you know, in a room? Do you know, there's a lot to think about, you know.
One thing for me is it's harder now, it's much harder to look forward to films, not knowing when you're ever going to see them, or even to plan what you're going to watch, which is what, you know, I would do for my year. I would have it ready.
For the first, 3, maybe 4 weeks of lockdown, there just weren't even any trailers because...
No, it just stopped.
There was nothing going on at all. There was nobody knew when things were going to come out, what kind of timeline they were looking at. So there was just nothing. Yeah. And there's been obviously trailer releases more in the last probably month or so. But it was very, very quiet for a long while. And
a lot of those trailers don't have dates on them. Or if they do, they're sort of hidden or they're vague and they're tentative. I know Tenet did the same. Like, it took its date off everything just in case, so that they could still use the trailer going forwards. But instead, it would just say coming to cinemas, and that was it. So yeah.
So should we look at life in lockdown then? What we've been watching?
Absolutely. It might be good to start by looking at what episodes we've actually covered since our last update in February.
Yeah.
Because we've had the time really to tackle topics that we've wanted to cover rather than reacting to stuff that's been going on.
Well, that had to just stop, didn't it?
It
There
did.
was nothing going out.
Nothing happening.
So it changed the entire schedule, really. Yeah. There's nothing to react to.
Apart from Mother's Day, which was obviously a national holiday, I suppose, we've actually covered The Sound of Music, Titanic, Cloud Atlas, 3 of our favourite films.
Yeah.
And we managed to dive into people's careers as well, you know, Ridley Scott and Julia Roberts, which was our last episode. Big undertakings.
With looking at a career, we wanted to do it justice. So we've tried to fit in as many films as possible. And obviously that means that you're trying to watch the films so that you're prepared to talk about them. So having the lockdown's been useful in a sense, because you've obviously got more time to invest in bigger projects like that. Yeah.
It's probably worth mentioning here that of all the episodes that we promised in February, the only one we didn't do was James Bond.
Yeah.
We've done really well actually delivering on what we said we would.
But I think that's the beauty of movies, though. Movies are never going to go away because you've got the entire back catalogue of everybody's work. And even if new movies aren't coming out, there's still more movies than you could ever watch in a lifetime to catch up on. And on that note, what have you watched? Have you gone back? Have you watched movies that you have seen before? Did you use the time to catch up and watch things that you hadn't seen? How did you kind of use the time?
Pretty much that, yeah. Well, I'm famous for not rewatching films, really. I'll watch things one time.
Yeah, I don't get it at all.
Because I can move on and watch other things. So now, for the first time, I'm actually watching some films that I'd forgotten about. You know, we covered The Pelican Brief. I've recently watched Road to Perdition and Apollo 13, Philadelphia, you know, because we've been doing a lot of top 10 lists with Team CineChat.
Yeah.
Upcoming, we've got Julia Roberts and Tom Hanks. And filling some gaps in as well. You know, I'd never seen Hook and Notting Hill and...
Travesty. An absolute travesty.
Well, I've seen it now, so you can't say that.
I know, I'm very glad, but you missed out on it on your childhood, so I'm kind of sad for you in that sense. But I'm really pleased you've seen it.
And I think the other big one is the Alien series. So since we did Ridley Scott and I reviewed Alien, I realised, well, you know, now's a better time than ever to fit in, 5-6 other films that are in that series. So yeah, I've definitely used the time to watch new things or rewatch things that I'd forgotten about, which has been good because I don't get that a lot ever.
It's worth saying though that at the beginning you were quite concerned because you weren't watching anything, were you? I think for a good 3 weeks or so you didn't watch anything at all. That, from what I've heard, tends to be the mindset. I think there was so much media, so much news going on. I think it was very hard to focus.
Yeah, the whole of April I did Cloud Atlas and Titanic for our episode, and then right at the beginning of the month, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Well, it's a hell of a list.
That was my April.
Yeah. Well, for me, I watched a lot, and I found for me, I can split it up into phases.
Mm-hmm.
So literally the second day of lockdown, the Tuesday, Disney Plus was released in the UK.
Yeah, of course.
So my first phase of kind of lockdown was very much utilising Disney Plus.
It's like they planned the whole thing.
I know. So I watched Big Business with Bette Midler and Turner and Hooch, which I'd never seen before, but they're on there, so I watched them. And then I think you go through ups and downs. I think most people will probably say this, where you just like kind of get to a point where you're locked in. And don't get me wrong, I'm very much a homebody, so I've quite enjoyed the lockdown.
Yeah.
But there is a few points where you kind of start getting affected by it. So I've really gone for kind of like the comfort things.
Yeah.
So I had a day where I went to Doris Day and I watched Calamity Jane and Move Over Darling, and that was lovely because that just kind of picked me up. And then I've had two other kind of phases like that where I wanted like those childhood nostalgia movies. So I watched Bedknobs and Broomsticks, which I absolutely adored, and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. So I'd probably say that was like my favourite.
Yeah.
Like if I couldn't pick an actual favourite film, but those 2 days where I sat and watched those, just kind of, that was really just brought me back.
There's another thing in Empire magazine where it said there's never been a better time to rewind ourselves on the joyful power of cinema.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because, yeah, it's exactly what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
That you had that moment to pause and do what you want with what's already come out.
Yeah. I had another day, and it literally was a day. I watched 4 films.
Yeah.
And I watched the Hayley Mills films, Pollyanna and The Parent Trap on Disney Plus. And then I watched the remake of The Parent Trap with Lindsay Lohan, which I hadn't seen for years, but I love, because that was my Parent Trap from when I grew up.
Yeah.
And then I watched The Princess Diaries, which I just adore. So that was a great day as well, you know, and that was I did that towards the end of May, knowing that I was going back to work on the 1st of June.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like that opportunity to do that.
Do you think you're able to pick, of all the films you've watched during lockdown, your favourite new film that's come out, if any, your favourite rewatch, and what's your worst film?
Oh gosh. My worst film would probably be Thelma and Louise, that we did when we were doing the Ridley Scott episode. I had real problems with the first half of the film.
Thelma's an idiot.
I just had real problems with that. Well, new films.
That's the thing. If you've not seen any,
I didn't watch a lot of new films. I really didn't.
I left them till yesterday.
The only 2 I can see here, there was a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. I watched midway through April, and Jumanji: The Next Level as well, which I'd never seen before, and I really enjoyed them. And Turner and Hooch, I think, as well. I've really enjoyed. I've not disliked any of the. I think I've probably watched 5 new films through the entire 10 weeks I was off it, but I really enjoyed the ones that I watched.
Most of my favourite new ones I actually watched yesterday. Like, I watched The Invisible Man, which I thought was brilliant. Like, God, I've never jumped so much. Frightening. And then I watched Onward.
I really want to see that.
This, for me personally, was one of the better Pixar films.
I'd have to say, if there was a favourite for me, it's very difficult. I cannot pin it down to one film. I really can't. But I think Bedknobs and Broomsticks and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was probably like my high note. I really thoroughly enjoyed singing along, watching them during the day. My husband had gone back to work, so it was like I had the flat to myself, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really did.
Of your rewatched films,
they would be my highs.
I've got to say, The Green Mile blew me away this time around. It absolutely knocked my socks off.
That is on my mine and my husband's list because we haven't seen it in years, and I'm looking forward to it.
It hits different every
it's
time.
It's just so long, so we haven't watched it yet.
The other one for me was Blade Runner. Again, it just hit on a whole different level this time around. So for me, those two were the best rewatches. But in terms of like new films, like I said, Invisible Man, Onward, I think even Scoob had some redeeming qualities. I think it looked great.
I just feel like coming out of your mouth, it's like listening to someone else who's possessed you, because I just can't imagine you ever coming out with that about that film.
Well,
I'm quite surprised, because animation's not your cup of tea.
Well, you
usually.
can find my review on www.cinechat.co.uk. and then the best film for me that I watched that was new but an old film was Zulu. I thought that, again, I don't know how I hadn't seen it before. It's my mum's fault for not describing it.
Classic, isn't it?
Not describing it very well. And then worst film. Some of them were slightly before lockdown, but Cats.
I still need to watch Cats. It's just building myself up to it.
Yeah. So I guess then the last thing for us to do is to look ahead, and this is quite exciting for us because we get to announce now what we've got coming up in the latter half of June all the way up to the end of October, which will bring us round to our 1 year anniversary, believe it or not, by then.
It will.
So we'll be starting with sort of a follow-up to our Mother's Day episode, and we're going to let our dads choose the films that we're going to review.
Yeah, we've had the choices given to us, haven't we?
Yeah, we've got the choices.
It's going to be interesting.
You sound, well, I'm quite happy with mine.
I'm not happy about them. I'm just, I just think it's funny, the choices that they've made.
Oh, okay.
I think it's quite funny. So after that, we are then moving into July with Back to the Future, which I can't wait.
I'm excited to rewatch them.
Love Back to the Future. I'm really looking forward to this one. I just think it's a close to perfect 80s movie. I really do love it.
Yeah, and they're quite fun, uplifting. Like you can't get too bogged down in analysing them, really, can you? So
no, but it's so much fun. They're really good fun.
Yeah, expect some quizzes
I'm looking
there.
forward to that one.
We're then moving on. Although Tenet sort of shifted around a little bit, we decided we were going to go with it anyway because it warrants an episode in itself.
Absolutely.
Christopher Nolan, Memento's turning 20, Inception's turning 10. Tenet will be out soon. So, yeah, we're absolutely going to bash that one out.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited.
It's we'll just say as well, Back to the Future, it's an anniversary for them as well. I think it's 35th anniversary for Back to the Future.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
We're then moving on to Anna. We've only just decided this one, and I'm so excited.
Apparently nobody's born in August and no films come out in August.
So we were kind of stuck, but we are going with a Dustin Hoffman episode at the beginning of August. It's not an anniversary as such. It's I think what was he going to be, 82?
He's going to be 83 around the time we record.
So he's getting on. He's got a hell of a backlist of movies, a lot of which are real favourites for me. So I'm really looking forward to this. I'm so excited. I can't wait.
It's a really good opportunity to just dip into so many films in one go.
Yeah.
And when someone's got a lot of range, like Dustin Hoffman, you tick a lot of boxes along the way. It's a great opportunity to watch things you've never seen. But in stark contrast, X-Men is next on the schedule.
Which you're very excited about. It's a big favourite for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I grew up with X-Men. It does have its sort of stumbles along the way, but I think there's some really interesting stuff to look at there. 20th anniversary, X-Men.
Yeah, we're moving on to what probably looks like a really random episode.
Yeah.
But there is a reason. It is the 60th birthday at the beginning of September of both Colin Firth and Hugh Grant.
They were born one day apart.
I know,
in
it's
the same
ridiculous.
Year.
I know. And they're both like British kind of rom-com kind of people. It's weird. It's very weird. But I think this will be a lovely episode. I think they've both done some really interesting films.
I think we need a drum roll for the next one. We've never done this. We've never done this before. We're going to do a special, not a 1-part, not a 2-part, but a 3-part Alfred Hitchcock
extravaganza.
Absolutely.
I am thrilled.
Psycho's turning 60.
Yeah.
And his only Oscar Best Picture winner, Rebecca, is turning 80. So, yeah, we're going to be picking apart as many films as we can possibly fit in.
Yeah, as many as we can fit in.
Our favourites and some new ones too.
Oh, I'm so excited. I love Alfred Hitchcock films.
Yeah, same. It's the genre of them, I think. They're kind of mystery, horror, thriller, drama, blended. And I like that because you get so much out of each one.
I think this is going to be absolutely immense. I'm really looking forward to it.
And then that takes us up to...
Yes, one of my favourite times of year. Oh, I just love it. We're doing a full-blown Halloween episode. We're going to be picking out our favourite horror movies, talking about the genre. I can't wait.
Yeah, well, obviously we missed out on last year's Halloween just by a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It's also The Shining's 40th anniversary this year, so that'll probably segue into there.
I can't believe it.
By then, I think we'll be ready for our next update, because that will be end of October, back to November, and like I said, 1 year of podcasting. Whew.
Yeah.
So just quickly, just to finish, I was wondering whether the films that you said you were anticipating back in February, and I can tell you what you said, whether they've changed now or whether those films are even on the radar anymore.
Go on then.
So you said A Quiet Place 2, which has been scheduled for September at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, this was never going to go away for me.
No.
Emily Blunt, I adore. John Krasinski, I adore.
Mm-hmm.
I loved A Quiet Place. It was by far top of anything else in that year. So yeah, I can't wait for this. I was very upset that it was coming out the following week and we had lockdown and then they moved it. I was like, oh, for God's sake, 1 week. So yeah, that's still really high for me.
We've had Onwards come out, so you also said Soul.
Yeah, I'm still highly anticipating both. I haven't seen Onward yet. I'm waiting for it to come onto Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And I am looking forward to it because I've heard good reviews. It was critically well reviewed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm still looking forward to that. And yeah, Soul I am as well. I always look forward to a Disney or Pixar movie. I always do. Without a doubt. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well.
That's currently down for November by the looks of it. And then, I mean, there was some, you said you were anticipated, but not necessarily because you were certain you were going to like it, but The Witches was also
still the same.
Yeah, I don't know where that's moved to.
I'm extremely intrigued about the movie. I really am, because it was such a big part of my childhood. I'm going to have to see it. I just have to watch it because I have to see what they've done.
And then Jungle Cruise has moved to next July.
Yep, I'll still watch it. I mean, anything Emily Blunt is in, I will see. I love the woman. So,
are there any new films on your radar that we didn't mention last time, or that you weren't aware of at the time, that you're now looking forward to coming out this year?
Do you know, there isn't a lot, I'll be honest. I wasn't very keen on The Invisible Man. The first thing I read was obviously the wrong thing to read because I just thought, oh no, that's not for me.
Right.
But then when I actually read into it, it was an article in one of the Empire magazines, and what it actually went into in a lot more depth. And so there's a lot more serious topics in it. And I thought, actually, yeah, that's probably one I would quite enjoy. So I've changed my mind about that one.
Okay.
But other than that, not really.
No.
Do you know, I am looking forward to Wonder Woman 2, though, actually.
Yeah.
Having said that.
I said Tenet, which obviously is not going to change. No Time to Die. Obviously, it's a lot later now, looking at November, which is fine. That's still the same. West Side Story, again, I said I was anticipating whether or not it would be good or not, but we agreed that Spielberg doesn't do bad films. Death on the Nile, again, anticipating, using the term loosely.
It's like you've got to see it, haven't you?
Yeah,
it's one of those you've got to see.
It's not a guarantee
that
it's going to be.
Yeah,
it's going to be good. But some films on my radar now that weren't at the time, like I'm really excited for Dune. I don't know why. Dune, I think, is really exciting me at the moment because of the scale of it. Really big film.
I don't have a lot of feeling for Dune, I have to say. It's going to be huge.
I am excited for that. Top Gun Maverick, I've suddenly become a little bit more excited about. I don't know why. I watched a video, actually, of them talking about how they've not done CGI and they've put the cameras in the cockpits of these fighter jets, and Tom Cruise is just doing mad stuff, flying right over the camera. I saw that and I thought, that would be great to watch. Whether or not I like Top Gun or not, that would be a first for cinema. That's not been done. And then the other one is the New Mutants. I was reading the article in Empire, and all these stories about it being recut and pushed back. They're not actually. That's not actually the full story.
True at all.
Yeah.
And
actually, the film that they're going to release is the exact one they made in the first place, and they're all really happy with it.
Yeah.
That excites me.
Yeah, I have to admit, I was skeptical before, but having read I now feel like, oh, actually,
Mm-hmm.
I would be more willing to watch it.
Yeah, and if that's going to be the last of the Fox X-Men series, if you will, yeah, I would really hope that it's going to be a good one to end on.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see.
We will.
Yeah.
So there's only one more question
Yeah.
I've got for you, Matt.
Oh, yes.
What film are you recommending this week?
Well, I forgot about this.
How we do it every week.
I know, but I don't want to recommend a film that I think everyone's seen before. Like, I would recommend The Green Mile. I think most people have seen it.
Yeah.
So I can only really go off what I've just watched. And I think purely for the fun of it, if you haven't already streamed The Invisible Man, definitely watch it. Turn the volume up. It's scary and jumpy. You know, it's got elements that feel supernaturally that kind of horror film, but at the same time it's not. It's quite grounded, but with like more sort of scientific parts about it. Elisabeth Moss is actually really good. You can't say that she doesn't carry this film really well.
Well, her name and her face is getting around these last couple of years.
Everywhere.
She is very interesting person to watch.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I'm going to an old favourite, one that I haven't watched for years, and honest to God, I absolutely loved rewatching it. But yeah, we watched Bicentennial Man.
Yeah.
From 1999 with Robin Williams, and oh my God.
I reckon that's another one that changes as you get older.
Yeah, it has a lot of really serious themes in it.
It's very dark in places.
Yeah, and the obviously advanced technology as well. Not in our lifetime probably, but in the next century, we will probably be in a situation where there is AI. I thought it was really interesting, and it's such a lovely film. I really enjoyed it. It's probably, out of all of the films I've watched recently, that one would top the list because I just had so much fun rewatching it. I cried 3 times during watching it.
The films like that are quite good, you know, that sort of evaluate mortality and stuff like that. You know, the idea that you're staying still and watching everybody, all the generations. And...
Yeah, Robin Williams does it so well, though. He does that part. He does any edit, but he's such a fantastic dramatic actor. Yeah. I think obviously he's known for his comedy, but he does drama brilliantly.
Yeah, he does.
But yeah, Bicentennial Man, I would definitely recommend people go back and give that a watch because it's just ticks all the boxes. So that's it.
Yeah.
So, Matt, where can they find us?
I knew you were going to say it.
Yeah, I know, every week.
We definitely need to record a jingle. So you can find us on our website, www.cinechat.co.uk/podcast, or on any social media, probably. Just search for CineChat Podcast, CineChat Pod, or CineChat_official. Or you can email us at
podcast@cinechat.co.uk.
Perfecto.
Oh, that was very professional, wasn't it? It was like one of those help adverts.
Oh, yeah, I know them well. If you've had an accident at work on the road that was completely your fault. The next episode, we're diving into Father's Day. And then, like we said earlier, we're not in the driver's seat really here. We'll be talking about the films, but we didn't pick them. Well, one of them I had a bit of influence on, but we didn't pick them. So
yes, our dads picked the movies, so it'll be an interesting episode, I think.
Yeah, so tune in for that next time, coming towards the end of June. Woohoo! And woohoo! And in the meantime, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.